Hello everyone and welcome to Ginger Prime. My name's Brian, and if you're a returning subscriber, what's up Soul Nation? You know you got the biggest brains in all of the internet. But with those compliments aside, you know how to get them. Hit subscribe and let's dive in. We've got a big and perhaps a weird video here for you today. We're going to go over the news update of what's new in episode 4 for Phantasy Star Online 2, which drops on August the 5th. I'm going to give some thoughts, my insight into the future of Phantasy Star, and then we're also going to dive into the past. There's an interview article over at Polygon really diving into kind of the founding of PSO back in the day, 20 years ago. If you ever want to feel time slipping away, just when people say a game came out that you played 20 years ago, it's pretty humbling, I guess is the right way to think about it. But that's what we're going to cover in today's video. Hopefully you guys enjoy this epicness, and as always, let me know what you're thinking in the comments below. But let's go ahead and dive into it, because finally, episode 4 arrives on August the 5th. To give those an arm stretch out over the cryo sleep and make sure you don't feel any lingering effects of corruption from your encounter with the profound darkness in episode 3, about 2 years has passed. The fleet oracle and its commander, some oddly behaving arcs have recently been spotted among the ships, and the commander Ulk needs you to investigate and ensure they are who they say they are. She is also tasked with you finding out if there's any relation between the Odd Arcs line and the recently discovered planet Earth. Under the new command, a few things have been added. The Arcs HQ wants to make sure that you're apprised of what to expect when episode 4 arrives, so please keep your arms inside the Gateway ship as we set off to brief our tour of the content. So what's new? Here's what you guys have to be expected. Global access for an additional 33 countries. Well, howdy from Texas, y'all. Welcome all to the 33 countries who made the cut. So hopefully we'll see more and more countries added. The player level cap increased to level 80. So from 75 to 80, I'm sure the XP is going to be substantial. So hopefully you've been stocking up all those XP cards and tickets ready to advance. Photon art techniques are going to go up to level 17. New skills are available from the player from level 76 to level 80. The introduction of PvP and Battle Arena has been added. A new PSO2 friends list is going to be separated from the Xbox Live friends list has been added. Character slots maximum have been increased to 20. New ARCs missions have been added. Universal Ship and Battle Arena challenge quests have been added. Bonus, quest, and a huge amount of EXP, Meseta, and material items have been added. And then when we say Universal Ship for Battle Arena and challenge quest, this is like whether you're on Ship 1, Ship 2, Ship 3, you can all kind of play together. New seasonal events have been added. New alliance quarters, including Tokyo Battleship and Lunar Surface, have been added. Characters from the anime series of Phantasy Star Online 2 will appear on the ship, and they can join your party after completing a specific client order. New enemy types have been added. Exciting new titles to earn has been added to the game. New quest types, new areas to explore. Previously your purchase in the Fresh Find shop, preview your purchase in the Fresh Find shop. Send your material items automatically to your storehouse, and Season 6 of the Mission Pass has been added. Now, there's going to be a few features and changes that deserve a little bit more explanation, so let's dive into crafting. Crafting finally comes to PSO2. This allows operatives to customize armor, techniques, and photon arts. Crafting can be accessed for the personal terminal of your personal quarters or in the mini room. Each crafting type will have a crafting level, and that can be increased by completing the crafting achievements. Increasing your level can impart bonus effects when crafting. So to summarize these benefits, equipment extension units allow you to rewrite the basic values of a unit, customize the ability, speed, and potency of photon arts, customize the potency, speed, and number of hits for range of techniques, add a timed ability to the unit, such as that increases recovery or attack power effect, dismantle unwanted items and receive that material items for crafting. Daily crafting orders will arrive. Receive crafting orders from other operatives. So there's going to be a lot to learn, a lot to dive in. I'm sure actually some of the really heavy crafters on the Japanese side, maybe they'll be able to kind of help do some translation guides. Otherwise, I'm going to have to dive in. I never got into crafting when it came down to the Japanese client, and I had a friend who just made all my new photon art, so I know how powerful that they can truly be. So I'm excited to kind of spend more time with that. Then we've got a new planet to explore. With new expeditions to explore like Tokyo and Las Vegas, operatives will have plenty of things to do in episode 4. New features in these areas include the ability to move freely throughout the map and include the use of new modes of transportation, Ridroids. An additional Ridroid quest can also be accepted via the quest counter if you find yourself becoming fond of them. Of course, these new areas means that there's new items to find, and then these items include the blades, the knuckles, and the 13-star bow here. So you can kind of see that here on the website. Pit yourself against fellow ARCs. PvP has finally made its way to the ships. Well, the universal ship, that is. The ship will host operatives from a whole fleet who are desirous? I don't know. Can't read. Of testing their might against their fellow ARCs in the battle arena, as well as those looking for allies to undertake the challenge quest in the battle arena. Defeating opponents and claiming victory in your matches will earn you battle coin, which can be redeemed at the battle coin exchange shop. And there's also a limited exchange menu where star gems can actually be purchased with battle coins every week. You can purchase 10 star gems up to 5 times and 5 star gems up to 10 times for a total of 100 star gems. For a sneak peek of which you can earn, see below. So new weapons and a Rappy outfit in this case. You also have Rising Weapons Badges 3 to be able to be earned. A new collection folder is being added as well, and new story missions. So odd arcs seem to have infiltrated the Fleet Oracle, but their purpose is nefarious. Discover the origin as you explore the newly discovered planet Earth and learn the parallels between your home and Earth. New characters and old friends will join you on your quest to curtail the foul spawn and other hostile entities. You'll battle new enemies, phantoms, and manifested fear and dread in Earth citizens, and comprised of aether particles to be able to move as dust on the wind. There's going to be more included, but we don't want to spoil it for you, so just be sure to jump in on August the 5th. And then obviously with this early release, we're still expecting a late September release for episode 5. So keep in mind that there's still plenty of things to do. So again, I just want to say, be sure to go and click the link in the description for the Polygon article for just what they're doing here with this interview. I want to make sure that they always get credit for them putting together this epic interview and amount of work. But let's go ahead and dive in to the different questions and answers. And also, I'd love to hear your thoughts, especially me being a veteran of Phantasy Star Online back in the day. Played it originally on Dreamcast, if you weren't aware. That was my first, online or even multiplayer RPG. But beyond that, that was the one thing I remember my dad specifically paid extra so I could get a dial-up connection so I could actually log in and play this game. Like, it was really above and beyond what he needed to do at the time, because we actually, for whatever reason, had broadband. Like, it was in the early phases, very early. And so this actually PSO required at the start a dial-up connection. But anyway, because that's the Dreamcast for you. So Polygon writes, as a producer for Phantasy Star Online, based on the work that you've done in video games leading up to that point, Sonic Hedgehog, Nights into Dreams, etc., it was unlike anything you've taken on. What were your biggest challenges when making Phantasy Star Online? And Naka says, I recall the greatest hurdle was trying to figure out how to get people from around the world to play online in an age where the internet was still not readily available everywhere. When we found out that even with the use of optical fiber, information only traveled at 7.5 times around the world per second, we knew that we could not build games the normal way. So we wanted to understand this environment better and develop Choo Choo Rocket first, so that we could learn to develop Phantasy Star Online. Now, other members of the team had said that you had various ideas that you were adamant about having into the game. Do you recall anything or saying were the absolute must-haves? And he says, I remember the former Sega chairman, Osaka, said that the internet is the future and we strive to create a game that would allow people to have fun in playing online. The method of communication was going to be key to the success of the game. So in addition to the regular chat for support for Symbol Chat, the World Select was very high on my list of priorities. In a way, it has made a lot of sense for Sonic Team to tackle the challenge of developing PSO. Based on your past experience from the original Phantasy Star series on the Master System, PSO really didn't rely on past series lore or expect the fans to have a prior knowledge of the series. But what did you want to maintain from past games? And he writes, I feel like it was important to incorporate the fantasy elements into the sci-fi world. So the first thing that we did was create the best representation we could of a dragon on the Dreamcast. We also incorporated references to prior games for Phantasy Star fans, so I think that they will be able to please both new players and fans of the original series. So he writes, how did the development of Choo Choo Rocket help you with the development of PSO? Likewise, what did Sonic Adventure do to help you with the development of PSO? And he says, Choo Choo Rocket was developed as a puzzle game, but it was also built to help us figure out how to use latency in battles to our advantage, as well as to understand the potential gameplay elements in online games. I think the experience that helped the most from working on Sonic Adventure was breaking into the game into parts and perfecting each part before bringing them all together. Now, PSO was developed at a time when network games didn't exist on consoles due to the lack of hard drives, stable and speedy enough through internet connections and methods of communication like voice chat and keyboards. Which of these things was the hardest to overcome, and how did you manage it? And they write, I think it was the lack of hard drives was the biggest obstacle. The issue was the reason we had to ask consumers to purchase a new disc, Phantasy Star Online version 2, in order to fix some bugs in the system. It was an unfortunate situation, but I was grateful that the consumers still seemed to enjoy the game despite the issue. And then they write, the PSO icon chat system was ingenious, flexible, and fun to use. You could do so much with the editor and only a couple of buttons. What were the design decisions to develop this kind of system? And he writes, when we were making the icon chat system, we felt that there was something lacking when chatting in just text, and we were hoping to go beyond just emojis. The whole development team was very surprised with how enthusiastic players were about it, and we were expecting some surprises, but we were really blown away by how much creativity we actually saw from the players. Now, Simple Chat, World Select, and the ability to take screenshots were all features that made PSO an innovative game. Why were you adamant about including these features in the game itself? And he says, it stemmed from wanting to take advantage of being an online and providing a variety of communication methods. The screenshot captured feature was something that I came up with 2 weeks before the master submission. We were only able to save one screenshot on the VMU, the memory card, if you guys remember, had a little image on front of it, and the batteries would just die on you, and they would become useless. They still worked as a memory card, but you couldn't take them out. And anyway, interesting times. But I figured it was better to have one than none. So we incorporated it as a hidden command. I'm really glad we did too. Ideally, I would have come up with it earlier in development, but it was something that came to me once development was starting to wind down, and I was looking for ways to make the game more fun. This is something that happens a lot in the second half of game development, and it's critical or a crucial thing to consider when ideas to incorporate and the amount of risk that is involved by trying to incorporate new ideas into the game at that late stage. Many popular Japanese multiplayer action RPG franchises have emerged in the wake of PSO. Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles, Monster Hunter, God Eater, etc. And while some of these have gone on to great success, it feels like no game has properly taken PSO's baton. PSO eventually won the Game of the Year award from the Japanese Game Awards. How do you feel about it in hindsight compared to the time when you were developing it? And he says, I was extremely happy to receive a Game of the Year award. I was happy we were able to materialize Chairman Osaka's vision and to be able to acknowledge as the pioneers of online games by the industry. There are so many differences between MMOs and multiplayer online games, so it's hard to compare, but I think that Final Fantasy 11, 14, Monster Hunter are great games, and I hope that those games will continue to take us further into the realms of online games. Now, they ask, what major compromises did you have to make to the game that you would have liked to have included, but couldn't for budget, console specs, or other scheduling reasons? And he says, what we were unable to include in PSO, we included in version 2 on the Dreamcast and the GameCube versions of episode 1 and 2. The version of the game which added features so that it was satisfying to experience and be able to make the game, that we were able to accomplish everything that we set out to do. Now they ask, one of the most innovating things about the game is the mag system, where players had dynamic pets. Raising them their potential was almost a game in and of itself, and seems like it was a very complicated system to introduce to an already complicated pioneer game like PSO. Who came up with this idea, and what was the internal reaction like? And so he says, the mag system was initially supposed to involve a fully fleshed out animated pet-like creature, but due to various reasons we had to limit the pet to an object floating over your shoulder. In early concept presentations of PSO, we had a monster-like creature that evolved over the progression of the game, and if that idea had been greenlit, we might have seen a different type of PSO game. Now they ask, PSO won many rewards. Considering how many challenges your team faced, was it a relief to see PSO's accomplishments were fully recognized by the gaming media and its players? And he says, yes, I remember that we received a lot of recognition from overseas media, and I was very happy to see that. Shortly after the release of PSO, Sega announced the end of the Dreamcast, and I had hoped that the sales of PSO would help keep the console alive. PSO was possible only because of the existence of the Dreamcast hardware. It was regrettable that we literally created a game with the vision of broadening a dream and released the game only a month before the announcement of the hardware's cancellation. That's got to be rough. Then they asked, the game was such a unique style and the character designs were so popular that it is not uncommon to see players in other games like Final Fantasy XIV name their character after PSO classes like Ruskaskal. And besides the game quality, how crucial do you feel the character designs were to the success of PSO? And he says, I think the appeal of the characters was a reflection of the quality of the gameplay. So I think that the fans of the game grew to love the characters as a consequence of enjoying the game. And I'm very thankful for that. So a little side fun fact is that Bryn, my character name in Final Fantasy, and even Zalazar, so Bryn Zalazar within Final Fantasy 14, gamertag, things like that, that all comes from PSO for me. For me, I had a character named Bren, and then I had a character named Zalazar, and Bren was my good one, and Zalazar was my troll character. Like, I was such a troll. Like, I mean, not a good one, but I was just going on and just kind of being stupid as being a young kid at the time. So I've carried that since this time, since PSO. So for my name and my character. So it's interesting. People use like their class name carried forward, but for me, my character names have carried forward this entire time. So looking back, PSO2 now is nearly 20 years old. Oh my God. How do you feel about the game in hindsight, and what do you think about its legacy is? And he says, I think the biggest impact we've had, we've prided that we could make a network game on a home console. And I've had many people tell me that they use PSO as a reference to study network games. I think that's something that we were able to contribute to the gaming industry. And they ask, you had so many landmark hits with Sonic Team and so many critically acclaimed, but perhaps underappreciated games like Knights, Burning Rangers, and Billy Hatcher. Where would you rank PSO2 among the team's catalog? And he's like, I don't want to rank the titles I worked on since they were all dear to my heart, but PSO would probably come after Sonic and Knights. I love Sonic. I love Knights. The fact that they're actually doing a new game that they were showing off and teaming up with Square seems really exciting to see. If you guys haven't seen like Balan Wonderworld, something like that. So lastly, obviously, if you don't work for Sega now, but a lot of people wish that they could still play this game. What would you say to these fans who have loved PSO for so long? And he says, I currently work at Square Enix, so please inquire about Sega about a PSO reboot. Also, please look forward to the next game I'm working on at Square Enix. And that's the Balan Wonderworld that we reacted to over on Ginger Gaming Radio. So that is an epic interview. I encourage you to go make sure you click the link. It helps the websites be able to put interviews like this together. But it's so interesting, and it's such a landmark game that as we build forward to the future with New Genesis, as it is in a way PSO3, in its own right, but I like that they're getting things connected. And I just wanted to share these thoughts with you. Hopefully you found this interesting, informative, if nothing else, for a form of a discussion. If there was anything that stood out to you, let me know in the comments below so we can have that conversation. But anyway, for Ginger Prime, my name's Ryan. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a fantastic day, and I hope to see you in my next video. But until then, take care.